Tidal Fury. And you entrap. The sky trapped in clouds, threatening. The air heavy with words. The weight of droplets falling earthwards. Crystals breaking on pavement, streaming on windows. The day steamy damp, I tap on a laptop by the window of an Italian cafe. I write to him. A woman attacks my writing as impenetrable. Her target was someone else. The arrows, the marks. The woman haunting her odd responses, the ceaselessness of her words. Does the writing community we are involved in trouble you, monsieur? The communities I post in, flocks of birds flying in scattered formation. Today, mon cher, I am not good with words. Describe her? I trace patterns in her writing, read her braille of air. We surf where the screen becomes a brine of glass and posts open and close like visions, where writing is an ocean continually closing over itself. Paragraphs encroach. Sand dissolves. Waves dissolve sand, the shore. She is a rising tide. My screen splashes with spilling breakers. Imagine her. Her hair like seaweed pulled back loosely with wisps lining the face. I've never seen her or gazed at a photograph. She wears veils of words and obscure sea sprays of forcefulness that surprise. I use the imagery of water, monsieur, but the metaphors shift and leave the desolate shore and come into the city of words, to her house where she moves like an exotic figment of fabric and skin. She rustles a blackness of cloth and red. Rhinestone glint brooch of a poppy. Beaded rose earrings like Native American dream catchers. Or that ruby rising out of a ring of melted cast gold on hands woven with pale veins and the delicacy of a musician's fingers. Open her closet. On the floor, red canvas tennis shoes, ginger petal satin slippers, patent leather ruby heels, flaming red slick knee-high boots. On the shelf, a vinyl scarlet belt, crimson sash of silk, red opera gloves, a vermilion hat, dragging down the white wall like Barnett Newman's Lima Sabachthani series, a funerary dirge of dresses, a heavy curtain of cotton, silk, corduroy, rayon, and wool hung on shellacked cedar hangers. Her garden is unkempt and unweeded like writing that chokes. Think of split pomegranates that are musty. Or Aubrey Beardsley's version of Oscar Wilde's Salome, drawn in black lines, but aged, the white skin and black hair and blood red splashes that are uniquely hers. Compost and florid perfume. Her writing resembles a mass of cut flowers, some dying, some bursting forth, floral with dark passion. Salt swirls, leaches the soil. Dying follows her. She's in a difficult economic situation. How she came to penury is a story that grows stranger with each telling. Her fish bones were broken and reset crookedly, yet she fishes and mercilessly scales what's caught. Is she a victim or a perpetrator? I don't know. Are there any true stories? An onrush of waves from the sky, the ocean, salt water spills in my mouth. I beseech you, monsieur, help me break free of the undertow. Why does she silence us, I and the others? She speaks in the diminutive, sarcasm of a seaward parrot, words twisted in the ruffle of virid and cinnabar feathers inside the sharp beak. She beleaguers my labored writing. It's unbearable, the denouncer's voice. For a fertile slope for my Sisyphean ball of letters instead of this ocean of caustic words. Why can't I turn and go elsewhere where welcomes wait? Monsieur, your beloved. Clipped. A sea of turbulent words, la mer. I know this woman who is a stranger. I read my past into her, and I ask how to stop monsieur when the virid the cinnabar. I am under wing clipped when she imagines insects rising from a hole in my belly, and she screams when she cannot forget when I am deprived of the power of speaking. Undercover. Your words draw me in, monsieur. Start that again. Your writing draws me in, monsieur. You breathe words into me, hot, intimate. I slip under the covers of those words, where longa pulsates, where lives are assembled, disassembled, reassembled, where poetry is born. Interlacing, connecting, where we fall in love, are enwrapped. So how's it going so far? You can all sit back, close your eyes, whatever, doodle, draw, write a poem. I'm much more nervous than I thought I would be, but it's okay. I'll keep. All right. Polarity. I cannot not struggle with words. Why is it easy to constrict the writing voice with harsh criticism, the shivering? The bed is delineated and unkempt. They prefer opposite sides, a talking head and the simmering passion of angst and deep meditation on the paradoxes, ambiguities, and fleetingness of life love. Can we extrude these polarities? The bed floats in the void, white sheets against darkness, one side cold and still, the other inflamed and sliding away. The critic tabulates, clutching the fingers of poetic impulse, or lets them fall away. Singed wing of an angel. Conjunctions. I imagine you, monsieur, in your baggy, paint-splattered shirt, stripping walls, sanding, wainscoting, and baseboards, smoothly slapping colors from soft and trained bristles onto walls, covering the inside of your house, stopping to rest by the ladder, standing, breathing latex fumes, your speckled canvas runners on the speckled floor of protective canvas, thinking about your life, women, the meaning of the conjunctions in the stars. You are painting your walls virid green and cinnabar red. Sweet life. The only man who speaks of love shoots those he loves most at close range. His children behind white, diaphanous curtains, and then seated in his black leather chair in his black suit himself. We should love each other so much we live outside time, detached, he said, Steiner in La Dolce Vita. Who can love in a world in which money must be made? The film is from a man's perspective. It is the women who speak of love, if love is spoken of, especially Marcello's fierce, suicidal, and beautiful girlfriend, for whom love is possessive. Those whose lives overflow with money don't know what to do with love either. Fellini knows this. Love wants to hold, to keep forever in its embrace, but it's all feathers. Clouds of pillows become unstuffed. We are tarred with our desires. What we seek are endings. Hybrid. She finds seagull feathers. She tars my words. Dead eyes watch us. The flat, hybrid, monstrous fish at the end of La Dolce Vita, she sent it to silence us, to take our words into its mouth, to be swallowed. Unraveling. Birds fly from the edges of clouds, fleeing the sky. Airborne texts, secret skywriting, Dakini decrees. It could be loose feathers, or the luminescence of angels fleeing a sky they never leave. Birds fly in V formation and swirl chaotically, joining the others who swirl in random orbit. Who feeds them? Feathers fall to earth, white, gray, black. Some are cinnabar and virid. Unblinking eye. We are filmed in the store, at the bank, on the street. It never stops. The eye that doesn't weep. The unblinking eye. Warhol's unblinking eye. In his factory studio, a camera continuously filmed the corner where the black couch was. In the clips, a gyrating woman, her breasts, their pale veins, the nipples in the light, pubic hair disappearing into the crux, her undulating hips, while a man stands nearby, polishing his motorcycle without noticing her. Or the two naked men, one on top of the other, humping for hours, while someone moves in front, sweeps the floor, and the man polishes his motorcycle. No one cares or watches, only the unblinking eye. The unblinking eye without ethic. Perhaps only the eye that weeps finds pathos, ethos. Do we weep before the accident victims Warhol blew up from newspaper clippings into wall-sized, silk-screen, repeating images that fade out? Who are the dead people? Without the narrative of their lives, they could be anyone. Us. We gaze, we do not weep. Scrolls. When he couldn't speak, he wrote. What did he say? I've forgotten. Sheets in a blue zipper folder. Pages lined with scrawls in blue felt tip pen. In the filing cabinet, crammed in the storage locker. All the cards of condolences are there too. Without his glasses, he couldn't read what he wrote. Notes to his daughter. She kept them. Blue felt lines like a bodice over a constricted rib cage. Lip read. the silencers. I learned to lip read. You read me in my absence. You occur in my language of sight. Uh-oh. Writings of who? I seek who allows me to write in the sunlit corridor, perhaps, an encounter with my eclipsed twin who answers through this writing. Who is the narrator conversing with me in these words that I relay to you as we converse? Who haunts us from within? Who is writing? Surely not our speaking voice. Poetry evokes us like the gradual lightning of dawn. If the trope of light didn't burn our vision, didn't burn our eyes, corrode our vision, that is. Sometimes I want to keep my secrets secret. Down the dark corridors of time, doors open and close and open, the spurious wind blowing through. Shutters cannot stay shut. We are ghosts moving through ourselves, haunted by ourselves. Can we have thoughtless words, a discourse bereaved of its cry? Inflamed. This was my belly, by the way. Was it the prunes, dried apricots, dark chocolate discs, Guinness draft beer, muesli, and raw sugar fermenting? I became ill, the late hour. I clicked on the wrong tab and it all disappeared. Poems cannot be rewritten. Will what surfaced from the currents of words reappear, or, like an iceberg, melted, gone, become ocean? All that remains is the title. How are we to face each other? Out in the day, I ache, lightheaded, still swimming in the emotional disaster of last week. The emailing, the words, the decisions, the silence, the loss. Incomprehensible on the edge of. Aren't they all edges? And where is? Letter in saffron. I write from the corner of a Parsi restaurant. Drawn after city blocks of walking by the warmth of his Indian colors and curtained light. Under my plate, an orange flower radiates out from the white stitching on the tablecloth under the clear plastic. It matches the saffron rice. I pour a thin gold stream of olive oil over my salad and lime juice. A kebab, sour cream, rice, a stewed tomato. I toast you with mellow wine, monsieur, and watch the babies of two Indian couples nearby. They sit in high chairs. They form rudimentary word sounds. Bah! Ma! Na! With joyful loud. Their mothers in sweatsuits shh and point. Wide brown eyes look at me. The men, their starched white shirts, dark suits, sit and talk only to each other and ignore everyone. Is marriage a stone while she thrashes in the water, monsieur, trying to contain energies? The Parsi woman at work showed me her wedding dress of white lace and how afterwards she would wear a honey mustard sari sewn through with gold threads. Saffron everywhere. This letter is composed of strands of saffron. I'm about halfway. Just keep going. Yeah. Okay. remember the night. There's a bunch of themes and the poems pick up. Okay, so this is remember the night. Remember the night when you, without closure, engulfed me, when I disappeared into your vastness, became lost in you, lost I. Everywhere you touched, mountains, valleys, plains, even the ocean in me parted, shook, opened. Do you remember how we, two sighs enfolded in each other? Breath of love. I speak of romance tonight, monsieur, forgive me. Afterwards we did not speak of it. The surface of the water that resists before you fall in, that edge of sweetness. Now, mon amour, it is like we are sitting in a darkened room with a screen of scenes before us, our hands close but not touching. You are so far away. Exile. Those of whom I speak, monsieur, are embedded in grammars too. As syntaxes and lexicons of unique verbal patterns, we are bound by a grammar of relationship that shapes us. The man who teaches pedagogy says what we must never do: patronize, reduce, laud, ridicule, dismay, simplify, bowdlerize, censure, censor, wield discourse as spectacle, wield discourse as power, wield discourse contemptuously, or silence each other. We humiliate those we exile. By ignoring them, we remove their voice. If we refuse to listen, they cannot speak. If they cannot speak, they will not be heard. We have created a hole in the grammar of the connection which divests the speaker who we did not want to listen to of the speaking voice that is heard. I know, monsieur. It happened to me. My enunciations formed an uncomfortable anomaly in the grammar of the group. Without an anxiety about the rigors of practice, I was not struggling in the way I was meant to. Given the reputation of the group, I could not be overtly ridiculed. Instead, I was ignored. An absent presence. Silence was wielded by those who formed an inner circle carefully so my diminishing welcome would not be evident to the others. What happened, monsieur? Exile. Aphatos, speechless, not speaking. Speechless, we speak, the making mute. If we don't hear each other, how can we listen? Potistas, power, where I was cast off. Power, the ability to do. Power, having others believe. We watch ourselves with internalized surveillance. How are we shaped by that which we wish to be accepted by? Okay, now the Medusa suite. So I guess.
Hair change?
Yeah. Give me a moment.
She's waking up.
Where is this? She doesn't want to appear. Oh, this is bizarre. Never not being able to. Is it okay?
That's great.
Spectre. She walks the seawall, a parade of black, coats, pants, dresses, and flashes of red. The white face, the black hair, and lurid red lipstick, a specter. When she gazes at us, beating warmth of our blood, we cannot escape our unblinking eyes. There's a couple of quotes from Derrida in the next few pieces. This is one, but I won't mention again. The straining eye always resembles an eye of the blind, sometimes of the dead. At that precise moment when morning begins, it is still open. A pious hand should soon come to close it. It would resemble the portrait of the dying. The woman in black trails the seawall. Her hair, its curls and tendrils coiling in the wind, in the salt spray. She turns us to marble, pale green veins in the rock, and splatters us with red, the color of her fingernail polish. The Gorgon creates a cast of unmoving characters, her silent companions. She laughs at my drained creativity. I know this woman. The blood drains from my lips. I am silenced. I mute, unspeaking. Stony glance. The seawall. My inner lashing waves. Salt tears. Her parrot, cinnabar, and virid feathers mocks, endlessly repeating the soulless words on the sea spray while she laughs. It is, we are. I want to become a tidal wave, but I withdraw. Describe the figure of jealousy, of derision? Is jealousy the overweening desire to upstage the other, to cast them out, stones of silence? I avoid her stony glance with questions. Polishing the rocks. Barrage of surf. Fear holds me captive. Like the Eight of Swords, bound and blindfolded, scared and unseen. Though the swords are all stuck, blade first in the ground. It's not a question of safety, monsieur. It's a lifelong problem with creativity. I have, she has. Monsieur, I split myself into a third person, a she. It's me or her. Does it matter who swirls in the salt spray its turbulences of disappearing foam? Is the invisible rendered visible through our perceptions? I am the subject. I dare not look upon myself lest I turn into bloodless reflection. In the mirror, the Medusa, her unblinking gaze. The object of the subject is the subject. Only in the self-portrait does the ruin of the self break down. We are decomposing into text, into iconography, immortalizing ourselves through time, statues, broken rubble of stones amidst the hissing of the broiling waves. You guys are great. The Medusa. Can you know the depths of the anguish, monsieur? Deep in the grammar of the self where it unravels, defies coherency. Being forced to look with unblinking gaze. Terror of catatonia, this self-portrait. A work is at once order and its ruin, and these weep for one another. My head unwraps in the mirror like a ribbon or writhing snake. This writing, is it risk-taking? Am I subverting myself in this emotional storm of words? Apollo, rising full of pride, held out the head of the Medusa to this grotesquely uncouth Dionysian power. Nietzsche sees the Medusa as a figure of death between them, writes Derrida. She who turns life into art with her gaze, flesh becomes stone, pigment, pixel, celluloid, the immortalizer who kills us. I weep on an altar of rainbow serpents on shed skin. The coils in my jewel-studded hair cut a mass of deathly serpent eyes. On the beach, polished pebbles, smooth glass baubles, tangled fishing wire. It's very waterlogged boots, seaweed, translucent shells chipped. Mollusks and sea urchins, dead cadavers detritus swollen along the glimmering band of sand. I see her on sea walks, her long black skirt. She gazes out to sea, grief on her face wet from the spray of the rocks that she stands on, and something indefinable, lit from within, but subtle, like sunset spilling out of her eyes. The coast is clear. I don't know who I am. Me, her, you, or a transfigured god, a Medusa lady. The curls in my hair coiling in the sea spray, an image maker. Blue dancers leap and fall, disappearing bubbles of sea foam. You are the edge of the waves that tip over when the peak cannot hold itself aloft and falls like a dancer letting go of taut tension and plunging. Or perhaps it is words that fall into froth. We stand on the shore of oceans that encompass the earth. Let me bathe in your word salt, rinsing raw passion, our vision infinite as the skyline. Am I in love with you, and who, my unbidden holy muse? Leaving time, so back to the group. Time is something we are constantly involved in creating, like a work of art. And this is a quote from Peter Hoag's The Borderliners. And if you've read The Borderliners, it's about people who leave time. I'm not sure if I read it before or after this piece, but this is a journal entry from February 2006, the first part. A few days ago, mid-evening, a moment in my meditation when I disappeared. When I came back, I knew I'd been gone. Vacuous, no thought or memory. It wasn't a moment of sleep. Was it an experience of obliteration, of no self, no individuality? Everything I am was gone for those few minutes, even the consciousness that tracks experience. As I re-entered my life, I knew I had been nowhere. Saying this created dissension in the group, an insistence on stupor, that it's common, that it's not Satori. Where do such labels come from? I, who belong to no system, who am not interested in the project of enlightenment, does it threaten when someone escapes time? Ultimately, then, mystery, insanity, or love. Don't need 2 more pieces left, but this is a long one. Tidal patterns. Almost there. Tidal patterns. And this story is based on a Tinshian story. I first read it in Keepers of the Earth, which I would have bought when my kids were babies. I would have read to my children. When I was writing these poems, it just kind of popped up. And it is my version of it. So, tidal patterns. Once the tide remained high. Without clams or seaweed, the Timsian went hungry. Raven knew what lay under the blue, glistening robes of sand. When he wrapped his blanket of black feathers around his strong shoulders, he flew. With sharp eyes looking, he watched. Scanning the edges of the ocean, he found her. Tightly, she held the tide line in her hands. She would not release the ocean to rhythmically rise and fall on the beach or draw back from it, leaving washed treasures, clams, seaweed, shells, and polished pebbles. Why did the old woman hold the tide line so tightly in her lined, papery hands? Lodged on the edge of the ocean, she grasped the waters and the lifelines on her palms. Who can tell from the mass of mounds and lines how the old woman bid the edges of the great water be still? Inside her sun-bleached house with closed eyes, she imagined the ocean or saw it with visionary sight. She sat, the tide line in her hands, the one interconnected with the other like a fisherman's net, weeping tears of salt. Raven dropped from the sky, a shadow of black feathers. He sat beside her and groaned, holding his belly, saying he had eaten too many clams. He broke her meditation. She stood and went to look at the clams, but he pushed her and she fell. Then he poured sand in her eyes. So she was blinded. Pulling the tide line from her hands, ripping the lifeline from her, he released the hold on the waters and the tide at last fell. Crazy old woman on the edge of the ocean of time, time's burden, that weight of life-giving water. And so the ocean drew back its blue mantle of robes and the people feasted. There were bonfires on the beaches and clam bakes that lasted days until everyone's bellies were swollen with food. Who was the old woman on the beach? Blind old woman on the beach, crying with the torn hands. Raven in raucous joviality, passing from one feasting party to the next, found himself before the old woman who said, "Raven, heal my eyes so I may see again." Raven, trickster figure, Promethean fire stealer, knew the gods must be bargained with, appeased. So he struck a deal. "Old woman of the sea, I will heal you if you promise to let the tide line go twice a day so the people may gather food from the beaches." She agreed, and he rinsed the sand out of her eyes. Thus Raven ensured the lifelines of the people, their continuity. As I walk the desolate beach, strewn with empty clam shells, seaweed, the detritus of modern civilization. I want to find her, to find out why, the withholding. I want to find out why she denounces me if she does, or others like her. To take the cowl she has wrapped me in off, to breathe, to see. I spin like Tiresias under an unrelenting sun. Why are black feathers strewn in my hair? My eyes, gritty and sore, are on fire. I see only flaring volcanoes, a red rage of light. On this windless day, how did my eyes fill with sand? My hands bleed as I write. For whom do I weep? Maybe just one little more. It's maybe positive. Death of time. Words silt in the deltas of time, flooded with being. Time drowns us. Break out of time, escapee. Leave the encircling fields of centuries, plummet silence. Breathe. Breathe without tracking, calibration, rates, or seizures. Okay, thank you. So I have no memory either. So.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you remembered a lot.
That was amazing, Brenda, as well.